Hey guys, so some stuff has changed in the setup this week. We have a new camera over there, and then the old camera that was over there is now over here, and well, things have changed. So let's see how that works. Can you guys hear me? Hope so. Oh, we got some chat people already. Philip says, party has started. And too soon. Hey, I think I'm ready, and if we have technical difficulties, well, we're going to have technical difficulties. So, loud and clear. Good. And let me turn the music down a little bit. Something like, I don't know, something like that. Uno arrived a few days ago. Christmas lights incoming. Nice. Like a German Shepherd. Okay. Great timing. Just putting up my WS2815 LEDs on my house with a Dig-Quad. Awesome. 5x5. Loud and clear. Well, let's take a look at the drink of the day. And I have this face focus feature turned on. I'm not sure I like it yet. Let me know what you guys think about it. But today we have a Coke Zero Cherry. I wonder, does this work? Oh, it's a bit close maybe. Nope. Maybe in front of the face. More hands. Nope. Okay, it's really face focus. Sure, that's fine. Got my show up, just dealing with some power issues with my 5-volt strips. Yeah, power issues is often a thing. Oh, the questions are coming immediately. Well, we're not in the official stream yet, so let's leave the questions for a little bit. You know, give people some time to get here, and then we'll get into the questions. Camera prefers Pepsi. That's probably it. I think I actually have a can of Pepsi, but I'd rather have this right now. Oh, the background color to the same color as my drink. That's good. Let's test. What are we going to test? He said, bring your questions, so there they are. That is true. That is true. Oh, Johnny is right there with light some pink LEDs. Also, SEKS rules. Of course it does. Pink? What? I don't have pink LEDs. Oh, wait. I do have pink LEDs. You know, I bought that one strip just for you. But I do have a lot of pink cable. I mean, so... You know, pink cable. Doesn't get better than that. What gauge is this? I don't know. 24? Something like that. Lots of pink cable. I use it for data cables. Coke. Unless you are from Quebec, then Pepsi, or they will kick you out. Wow. Is the branding that strong there? Good evening from Limburg. Welcome, Rob. You have RGB LEDs. Make them display pink. We can work on that. So I set it to red and green in the background, but I guess we can do pink and pink. And it rebooted. Okay. That's live for you, I guess. Oh, wait, I'm on Color Twinkles. Yeah, Color Twinkles is bugged unless you have the really, really most recent version. Let's see, is this enough pink? Colors 1 and 2. I guess it's pink. I guess I could put them on full power. It's lots of pink. Now the whole room is pink. I mean... I don't know. Let me select a nice effect. Flow, and then... No, that doesn't do anything. Now I'm stuck choosing WLED effects on the stream. Oh, there we go. That's nice. There, you get that in pink, okay? Pinkish. We want smoke. You are very demanding today. First you capitalized demanding pink, and now you want pink smoke. I do not know if I can oblige. Sorry. Got my quad Monday and finished out our roofline yesterday. My wife and I sat in the car out in the driveway for a couple of hours last night just playing with the settings. That's awesome. I paid for pink. Well, no, you paid for SAKS. No, okay, you paid for pink. I gave you pink wires. I'll try and incorporate some pink somewhere, okay? You didn't pay, by the way. You donated. On WLED on initial screen, where you can choose which set you want to adjust, what to do, different colors on the brightness bar mean. I've had red, yellow, and green. I'm assuming green is good. What? Different colors on the brightness bar? You mean at the colors themselves? That's just... hold on. Let me... Let me try and get a WLED for you going. Let's see if this still works. Select a browser. There we go. So now we have a WLED. That's good. Let's go down a little bit. There we go. So what color slider? I still got into a question. I don't know what slider you mean. You mean the brightness slider up here? Or are we talking the color slider over here? Or, I mean, this one is just for the intensity of color 1, basically. You know? So what are we talking about? Oh, that's an interesting idea, Irritato. Can we set up LED effects for the Dig-Quad for your speech? I don't know, but I think OBS basically claims the microphone, so I'm not sure I can use another application to also listen to it. That might be a bit complicated. Oh, Teacher Gone Tech. Hey, that sounds good. Quindor showed you 700 fairy pixel LED tree. Been playing with the settings of that a lot the last few days. I think most of you have seen a picture of my tree. Let me pull that up. That's fun. Oh. So I added a picture, I believe, in the dedicated Christmas tree, Addressable Christmas tree article. Yeah, there it is. So this is our tree from this year. And, well, this was one of the test shots with the new camera, and I think it did great. It looks excellent with the... This is 450 of those fairy light LEDs. And yeah, we really love how it looks. And generally it's not set to this pattern, of course. But yeah. But yeah, there's an article on QuinLED.info. If you go to the addressable LED section. And then there's a specific DIY addressable Christmas tree section. And there I go through. This was in 2020, and the videos are about the 2019 tree. My English is failing already. And I go through everything, how to power inject, and there's videos about the LEDs I use and the power injection and stuff like that. And well, you can build one yourself. But 700, that must be a big tree, or there's just like a giant amount of lights in there. Oh, Philip donated, hey, paid for Johnny's to stop using pink. Oh, but now I don't know who donated the most, so what should I listen to? Oh, wait, chat suddenly jumped. Hello from Wisconsin. Hey, Ross. Let's see, he's referencing the color indicator line, I think, yeah. Received my Dig-Quad also last week, preparing for new house. Ooh, awesome, Rob. I have a PayPal account, Philip. Oh, God. If you have a different MCU, the screen before that one? Okay. Ah, you mean in the WLED app when you have the overview? I think the bar color is just the color that it's set to at that point in time. So it doesn't really mean anything, except the color you selected. Hey Quindor, just wondering, why are most LEDs 5V and 12V? The hue strip are pretty good and have such a small power supply. With 5V they can be pretty huge. Oh, unexpected maker is here. So that's an interesting question, Den van Sutton. And actually, it's a good thing. I'm working on an article. We recently did a few live streams about the 24V to 5V buck converter setups. So you can do 24V power distribution, but then have 5V single addressable LEDs or LED strips or strings or whatever. And I've been working on an article for that. I'm not sure it's fully done yet, but it's getting there. So I've already listed it. And it's the 24V to 5V buck converter power distribution setup. Hey. And there I do go into what the problem is. And the problem is that an LED generally has a forward voltage of about 3 to 3.5 volt. So if you have 5V, it's pretty easy to drop it down to that 3 to 3.5 volt level. But if you have 12V or 24V or even higher, well, you'd have to burn off a lot of power. That's what WS2815 does. But that's very inefficient. So another way to do it is to make it per 3 addressable. Then you can drop the voltage over 3 LEDs. And now you need 9 to 11 volts or something like that. So that's much closer to the 12V. And if you have a 24V strip, you need to drop it over 6 LEDs. Now, with analog LED strips, the one color for everything stuff, that's not really a problem because everything's doing the same anyway. But if you have addressable LED strip, well, now you have a per 3 or per 6 addressable LED strip, and well, that's just the reason. The LED diode themselves need something around 3V, and well, you need to drop the voltage somehow. So distributing it over 3 LEDs is much more efficient than just burning it off with a regulator, basically, what WS2815 does. But this series goes into using a buck converter, and I do all kinds of calculations and comparison scenarios. And if you want to do 10 amps with 5V over 10 meters, you need 10 gauge or 5.2 millimeter square cable. But if you do 2 amps at 24 volts over 10 meters, which is the same amount of power, you only need 22 gauge or 0.36 millimeter square. So using a higher voltage really benefits in not having to use cables that are as thick as your finger, basically. And I go into all kinds of calculations if you want to do a 5V distribution scenario and if you want to do a 24V distribution scenario. and calculating the injection points and the amount of LEDs, and then the cable lengths and what type of cable you need to use for that in both scenarios. And I even made a little schematic overview of how to hook up a Dig-Quad, for instance, which can distribute and still fuse and distribute that power. And yeah, so if you're interested in that, in doing larger setups, but you want to do it with 5-volt LEDs, using buck converters can be a very interesting solution to that. And there's a whole video series about it. Where is it? That's over here. So this is the cut up video series, but if you really want to watch everything, there's 2 live streams, and then you'll be in for like 5-6 hours. But hey, that go over this topic specifically, and where we test it, measure it, and test the buck converters and everything like that. So yeah, that was a bit long-winded reply to your question, but that is the reason why LED strips are 5-volt and not 12 or 24 volt. Because on all other 12 and 24 volt strips, like analog, you'll see that there's, again, sections of 3 or 6 LEDs to drop the voltage. Right. I don't know where I was in the chat. Sorry. I always go on these complete rants. So, unexpected makers here. Cool. Simple solution, look at VB cable. Yeah, well, I know VB cable, but I'm not going to do that during the live stream. But it might be interesting for another time. So, yeah. Got 2 Dig-Quads from your website. One is not working, the other is. What should I do? Do I email you the issue? Best would be to join the Discord server. There we'll try and do a little bit of troubleshooting with you, figuring out what exactly is broken, and if it's broken or something else is going on. And if it is, I'll just replace it, no problem. So, you can use capture mic with multiple apps. It worked for me. Yeah, I know, unless your audio device is in exclusive mode, and I don't know what I set my microphone to. So, oh, chat jumped again. I know Unexpected Maker complains about this a lot, that the chat jumps when you scroll. That's bugging me now too. Arthur says, hey Quinler, thank you for helping us. Hey, I don't mind. I like helping people. But thanks a lot. Oh, Philip says, it's 20:15. I guess that was during my rant. Yeah, stream has started. That's for sure. Oh, Ithami says, I've got an issue with my Dig-Uno. Doesn't appear online in the WLED app or the web browser, but I can control it in Home Assistant. Well, I'd say try and check which IP it has, and then manually adding that in the app. Wait, let me go back to the face. There we go. Manually adding that IP in the app, or using your computer web browser, Chrome or whatever, and trying to open that IP. That should give you the interface. Yeah, like Johnny says, often when I get questions like this, it's probably that the IP changed, or that your router basically changed the IP. So you need to figure it out. Oh, same IP. I don't know. Did you try restarting it? I guess. But if Home Assistant can talk to it, you should be able to also. Oh, Johnny comes in with another 20 SAK. Please change color to orange. Okay, sure. I'm very willing and obliging. There we go. Orange power. Now we have orange. We can do more brightness. That's a bit bright. Now you have a pink background and orange. How's that? But the pink background will slowly change. So yeah. Let's see, I'm missing questions. Jeffrey asks, if LED strips are the sole lighting in space, like I'm designing for my van, what changes would you make to the system resilient to things like Wi-Fi or perhaps even the router going down? First of all, I wouldn't use addressable LED strip. Addressable LED strip is fun, but it's not suited for primary lighting, because the CRI value, and I'm going to go back to my website again. If you go to the analog LED section of my website, there is an article called The Color White and CRI RA. And this goes into detail about color temperature, but there's more to white light than other light, basically. And that is the color rendering index, or CRI RA value. And that value of addressable LEDs, especially RGB white, as I call it, so combined all colors white, is quite horrible, and you don't want to have that as your primary lighting, basically. But I go into that in this article, and why some light is worse than others, and what kind of effect that has, and stuff like that. So I'd read that. And then you'd probably want analog LEDs, because you want a decent CRI value, and I haven't found any digital LEDs yet that have a decent CRI value. For instance, all my studio lighting is also analog LEDs. Now, I do have controller boards for that, which my studio runs off of, but those are DIY only. I am working on something, a new DIY version that I'm still hoping to release this year, but we've run into some bugs. And there will be a pre-assembled version of that at some point in time. Don't know when. So maybe get a commercial controller for that, but at least get the good LED strip. And on the website, I have a lot of recommendations for high-quality warm white LED strip. And you have premium and good. Premium is the best stuff I use for my video lighting and everything like that. But the good quality stuff is pretty good too, especially if you take a look at the degree and you don't need humongous amounts of lights, like in a studio, for instance, but in a normal living situation, you don't need that much light. These 600 LED CRI 95, I get the 24 volt version, are excellent to use as primary lighting. So, yeah. In regards to Wi-Fi and the router going down, if it's running ESP Home, you can make local routines that will respond to buttons you can connect to your controller. If you're using one of my controllers, if you're using commercial solution, so you can do that, and the future versions will have Ethernet. The current versions do not; they're Wi-Fi only. But yeah, you could look into that kind of stuff. Hope that answers your question a little bit. Oh, Student says, I had this issue too, Adam, and I reflashed my Dig-Uno and then used my phone to connect it to Wi-Fi. Cool, sure. And if it drops off Wi-Fi often, the Wi-Fi sleep function of the ESP might be incompatible with your Wi-Fi system. And then in the Wi-Fi settings, there is a toggle right all the way down the bottom. Oh, I guess I can show you. In WLED, if you go to Config and then Wi-Fi Setup, and you go to the bottom, there is a little toggle called Disable Wi-Fi Sleep. Now, on my Wi-Fi system, this generally works fine, so I leave it. I leave the disable off because it does use a lot more power when you turn this feature off. But if it keeps dropping off Wi-Fi, I'd suggest ticking that box and rebooting the controller and see if it does better. I keep falling behind the chat. Are you not seeing my messages, Quindor? Oh, God. Are you atting me? Because then probably I'm not seeing it. Sorry about that. I tried to look for what would cause people not being allowed to at Intermit.Tech. I don't know. There's no setting that says people are not allowed to do that. Or if there is, could someone point me towards it? Because I'd really like to change it, but I have no clue where. Oh, let's see. In an unexpected maker, how many 5-volt SK6812 style LEDs can an ESP32 handle in a single strip if the data is level shifted and 5-volt power is evenly distributed? Got an article for that too. Sorry. Let's go back to the website and to the digitally addressable LED section. And there I have an article about what is the max amount of addressable LEDs per controller. Now, this is per controller, or rather it's per data output, because the WS2812 protocol, which SK6812 also uses, is a fixed 800 kilohertz protocol. So that determines the maximum amount of updates it can do to LEDs that you have connected. And the more LEDs you connect to a single data pin, the longer each update will take, thus the slower the frame rate will be. So if you have like 10 LEDs, you can do, I don't know, 500 hertz or whatever. But if you have 1,000, well, let's look at the calculations. Basically, that 800 kilohertz, blah, blah, blah. I think I thought I put down what the actual update rate is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. RGB versus RGBW. So these are the values for RGB. So if you have 100 RGB LEDs, like WS2812B, you can do 333 updates per second over those 100 LEDs. But if you have 500 LEDs, you can only do 66 updates per second. That's generally why I advise to stay within 600 LEDs per data pin on an ESP32, because then you get 55 FPS, and WLED, which a lot of us here run, its default frame rate is 42 FPS, so you still have a little bit of margin there, and then it should work great. If we're now talking RGBW LEDs, which has an extra channel per LED, the data rate is still the same. So if we want 60 FPS, we can only address 416 LEDs, where with RGB we could address 555 LEDs. So if we're again looking at that 42 FPS for WLED, you're stuck somewhere around 600-ish. Maybe keep it around 500 to have a little bit of overhead. Now that is one part of the equation. That is what the LED protocol can basically do, and also what an ESP32 can handle easily. But if you're now using multiple pins, the controller, or the ESP32 in this case, also starts to become a bottleneck. And WLED has put out some figures around that, and they say we can do about 65K to 85K of updates for LEDs a second. So if you have 1,000 LEDs, we can do that at 70 FPS. But if you have 2,000 LEDs, in theory, the ESP32 will slow down to about 35 FPS. Now, this really depends on what effect you're running and what you're asking the controller to do. And this is also very WLED specific, because WLED does a lot of things on the side than just outputting raw LED data, basically. So if you'd run fast LED or even ESP pixel stick or stuff like that, it could be that the ESP32 is much more powerful in regards to pushing out this LED data over multiple pins than it is currently in WLED. But I hope that answers your question on how to figure this out. Oh, falling behind the chat again. Oh, slightly off topic. Any updates on the HAHA project? Yes and no. I have all the hardware for it, and I have actually built a test setup before, but I'm kind of stuck doing LED stuff nowadays. I do want to return to that next year. So for this year, it's probably going to stay LED stuff, but I have some plans on diversifying the content again for next year, because there was a lot of LED stuff this year, and I'm not saying there won't be a lot of LED stuff next year, but I'm hoping I'll have a bit more time to also get back to the HAHA projects and the backup server project, for instance. That's been lying around for a year. Some more Home Assistant stuff, some more IP camera stuff. I kind of want to bring all that stuff back because, hey, I miss it too. So, yeah. Oh, well, I guess I answered that question. Andreas Lekos says, can the Dig-Uno Dig-Quad run ESP Pixel Stick? Yes. And especially if you use the newest beta of ESP Pixel Stick, you can run it on a Dig-Quad and use all the channels, no problem. Works great. I tested that recently because I'm developing something And a thing that I'm developing. I guess I should go to the other camera. Oh, I didn't even open my can yet. Damn it. Let me zoom in a little bit. And let's try and focus that. There we go. I'm developing something, and this isn't done yet. This will come out somewhere beginning of next year, I hope. And that is what I call the QuinLED ESP32AE+. Now that's a working name, let's call it. And this has a touch button, an infrared sensor, a digital microphone, an SD card slot, and 3 additional LED output channels. And if you're running the newest version of the ESP Pixel Stick Beta, and that's where I tested this on, the SD card slot works great, and all the outputs and stuff like that also work great. So then you can actually run your X-Lite sequences off the local SD card using ESP Pixel Stick? Yeah. And have an FPP central controller that just has local controllers with the data on there, and then you might get away with not having to use the let me get one, the Ethernet version of the board, which currently, if you're doing anything with real-time pixel streaming, like from X-Lights or running a Christmas show or stuff like that, if you want to do it in any form seriously, get the Ethernet version, because that makes a huge difference. But in the future, I hope that having a micro SD card slot like this, with the sequence locally and just the timing running over Wi-Fi, NTP synced and stuff like that, that would actually be a good solution. And this is just a top board, just like the Ethernet version is, which you can plop on any modern Dig-Uno or Dig-Quad and get some or all of these features, because someone who is running a Christmas show really doesn't need a digital microphone in the board or infrared control. But then again, someone at home who's running a Dig-Uno might want a digital microphone for audio reactive and infrared for some remote control, like, you know, these simple remote control thingies. But then again, might not need the extra channels or the SD card slot, because WLED doesn't know what to do with an SD card slot. So I'm thinking of making multiple versions of this, and an Uber version which basically has everything. And that'll just be an upgrade for an existing Dig-Uno or Dig-Quad. But yeah, that's future tech. Let's call it. Let's zoom that out a little bit again. There we go. Okay. So yes, Dig-Quad, Dig-Uno works perfectly in ESP Pixel Stick, and then especially in the future you'll be able to use micro SD card, have additional outputs, so a Dig-Uno would suddenly be able to do 5 channels, and a Dig-Quad can already secretly, although it's called a quad, do 5 channels, not 4, can do 5, and then it would have 8 channels. And there is maybe a project I'm going to work on. I have sketched out some ideas for myself. But that's nowhere near ready to reveal yet, so yes. Oh, Chef T asks, are the extra channels level shifted? Absolutely. Of course. What do you think? Let's scroll back a little bit. Johnny says, you can trust me, unexpected maker. I have the Quinn knowledgeable role in Quindor's Discord. Yes, that makes you uber powerful. Doesn't actually give you any more power. It's okay. Oh, nice. My brain has just blown a fuse, says Adam Bryant. Okay. Oh, we got 91 people watching. Hey, guys. Let's see. Why is the chat aligned wrongly? Oh, I think it's okay. Let me fix some Windows notification stuff. There we go. I'm running Windows 11 on this PC. It's interesting. I like the interface, but some stuff still needs a bit of work. Let's see here. Oh no! Somebody asked about the Ultimate Desk Project. the ultimate desk project is stuck in limbo, and I have to do something about it at some point. But yeah, kind of stuck there. I will do something about it at some point during my lifetime. I will get that desk hung. But yeah, anyway. Kyle says, I'm running 858 LEDs on one output of a Quin ESP32, and it's wiring great for me? Working great for you, I guess. I know the FPS may be lower, but worked great for my application. 4 sides of my backyard gazebo. Okay, but it does depend. Are you running, for instance, 12 volt LEDs, which are per 3 addressable? Then you don't count the LEDs, even though it's, for instance, 60 LEDs per meter, but you count the addressable zones. And that is 1/3 of that. So 60 LEDs a meter only use 20 LEDs of computational power, basically. So maybe it's that. But yeah, you can run more, but the frame rate will start to drop. And especially if you get below 42, that'll certainly be visible. This thing with an AN Penta is going to make the AN Penta the best controller ever. Yes, I still have the prototype here. I need to get back into to developing it. It's stupid bugs that get me stuck on stuff, because all the other stuff's working great. But yeah, I need to get back on that. But it's been really busy. It's busy season for LEDs, that's for sure. The future board will need a separate board for fuses and power injection, right? Maybe. I have some ideas there. At least make the desktop project a smoke? What? Oh, big bonfire! Well, actually, I think my girlfriend would actually, by now, prefer I just light the thing on fire so that it doesn't take up space anymore than keeping it where it is. But yeah, let's... Oh, Denizen says, I'm going to be working on some pantry lighting soon. Hopefully going to use a Dig-Uno. Cool. Well, at least use RGBW strip for that, because then you have a... Yeah, I'm not going to call it decent white, but at least it's passable for white. But yeah, sure. Because you're going to have one controller that does analog and digital. Yeah, if you put the new... where is it? This top hat on a AN Penta, you can't see anything. So yeah, in theory, in the future, you could take this ESP32 off. You could then put this one on there. And then you have a micro SD card slot. Nobody knows why. But you do get 3 digital outputs here and 5 analog outputs here. And pin-wise, that should all work and be compatible. I haven't tested it yet, but in theory, that's going to work. It's basically designed as a whole ecosystem pinout-wise. I have this giant Excel sheet that lists all my controllers and all my boards and all caveats with ESP32 controllers and stuff like that to try and figure out a single workable pinout, but it's a mess. But it's going to work. It's fine. Okay. Yeah, Andy's excited. Okay, Rob de Graaf says, in our new house, I would like to run 4 times 3.5 meters of RGBW addressable LED strip from a Dig-Quad. Which LED strip and power supply would you recommend? Do I need power injection? It's for the attic. 3.5 meter, you might be able to get away with just injecting one end, especially if you desolder the JST connector and solder on your own wires directly and use 18 gauge for that or something like that. That helps a little bit because these little there we go. These little JST connectors, they are limited to... Nope. These are officially limited to about 3 amps, and the wire gauge and stuff on them is pretty thin. So if you desolder what's on the LED strip and then just make an 18 gauge connection directly, Let me get some 18 gauge cable. Is this 18 gauge? I think so. Yeah. As you can see, that's a lot thicker, so you'll have less voltage drop there, and you'll also be able to get a little bit more into the strip. I think you could get away with 3.5 meters without too much voltage drop, or rather visible voltage drop. And then which power supply? Well, we go back to the browser. Because if we're in the digitally addressable LED section, and we go down and we go to the digital LED power usage sheet, hey, and there we take a look at the 5 volt sheet, and we look at WS or SK6812 because, oh, actually this is, oh, I have the WWA variant there. Oh, those are pixels. See, I don't know even my own sheet anymore. There's the SK6812, and there you can see how much watts it uses doing what. And then you can calculate how much power it would at maximum need. And if you really want to get into calculating and how to figure that stuff out, I would advise going to the power injection live stream. That is another link in my digitally addressable LED section. And there I have a document. You can see how to figure that stuff out. But I'd recommend watching at least 30 to 45 minutes of this live stream, and you'll know everything from figuring out total power usage, how many injection points you need, how many amps each injection point is going to use, then what kind of cable you need for that injection point in regards to the distance and voltage drop and all that stuff. That's all explained in that stream. So I certainly recommend watching that one. I guess I could post it in the chat. There we go. I don't remember where I'm in the chat again. Arun says, thanks for helping me spending money. I got myself a Ryden bench power supply, though I like mine a lot, and an Ixun T3A. That I've been in love with that one. That one's been working great for me, at least. Just don't tell my wife. Sure, I won't tell your wife. I hope she's not watching. Interesting, mixing an analog and a digital board in one board. Yeah, that's not really the idea behind this little top hat guy, but it's certainly a possibility. Yeah, I mean, pinout wise it should work. Software wise, I haven't tested it. What's the screen on the quad? Oh, you mean the screen on here? Well, that's actually the part that's bugging me. That's an OLED screen that I wanted to use for status stuff and things like that, but yeah, it's not working correctly, and I'm actually thinking of releasing it without that functionality, but not sure yet. Which type of adapter will split 5 volt PoE from the RJ45 at the ESP32 so I can power the Dig-Quads? I got you. We go back to the web browser again, and we're still in the digitally addressable LED section, and we scroll down to the information articles, and then there is a, can you run LEDs over PoE? And it turns out, yes, you can. First off, there's a live stream where we test all this and do all kinds of stuff. If you have time, watch that. But then there is also a written version. And basically, if you're running a small amount of LEDs, you can do that over PoE. If you want to run a big amount of LEDs, you can't. But you can still use it for 5 volt EXT, for instance, to keep the controller alive while you switch the big power supply for the LEDs on and off with a relay. And here I also have links to splitters that you can use. So this one is a powerful 3 amp to 4 amp one, so 20 watts. So you could actually run some LEDs off of that, but it's 15 euros, so about 17, 18 bucks or something like that. And if you want a cheaper one to just run the controller, for instance, stuff like that, you can get this one. And then it even has a 5 volt 2.4 amp type C version, so that can plug directly into, let's say you have, let's say you have this guy, for instance. So an Ethernet board, and you just want to hook up some pins to it, you can use PUE, one of those PUE extractors. Ethernet still goes in here, it's still Ethernet enabled, and then power goes in here, and that will perfectly power this ESP off of PUE for a few bucks, basically. So, hope that helps. I have a lot of articles, but I guess they're hard to find. I've been thinking about how to improve that, but it's difficult. I keep running behind chat. Brian says, how's it going? I asked on the Dr. Z stream the other day about a new Ethernet ESP32 on about an old quad. You posted a link, and it looks like it would work. Just need a separate 5-volt power for the ESP32. Not so much for the ESP32, but probably for the board. So I think I highlighted that in that article too. We're going back again. And that is for the QuinLED ESP32, the Ethernet compatibility article. If you have an older Dig-Quad, the 5-volt regulators on there can't handle the extra load Ethernet introduces. On the new one, that works fine. And the pinout is different. But what you could do is feed the board using the 5-volt EXT function. Then that's 5 volts, so the regulators don't need to do anything, and you can hook up a 12-volt power supply to the main power terminals to feed the LEDs, and that should work fine. That's a great workaround for that. You will still lose one of the LED channels, so you'll only have LED 1, 2, and 3, and not 4. But if that's acceptable to you, that can be fine. Another thing to take note of is if you order a board like that, make sure to order the legacy version, because otherwise the amount of pins that is on the current version, which is 4 rows of 9, basically won't fit physically on the board, or you'd have to snip some off. And the legacy version is prepared for that. So, yeah. I hope that answers that. Yes, Kenny, in the troubleshooting room, we will try and help you. W, since the latest beta, even has CCT support. I haven't been able to play with that yet. I had to develop that myself some months ago, and now I can use the native code from WLED. I remember that, Andy. What? Boardup says, I had a strange situation with one 3.7 volt lithium ion battery used with a DC booster set to 5 volt. When the voltage suddenly raised to 20 volts, while the bat voltage dropped to 3.3 volt as it became weak. Is it expected? I wouldn't think so. The current boards actually use a buck boost setup. So there's a boost circuit on there too. And that certainly isn't doing that. So I'm not sure what happened there. Cool, Rob. With WS2815, why is it recommended to connect the backup data to ground? Do you still get the backup data that way? Yes. So it's recommended to... Before, I always used to recommend to connect the backup data to the same data pin, but we have seen some issues in that kind of setups. So nowadays we recommend, and it's also kind of in the data sheet, to ground the first pin so that the backup data for the first LED is 0, but then the backup data is generated from the first LED onward. So yes, you'll still have backup data functionality inside of the LED strip, just not leading up to the LED strip. But then again, that connection should never really fail, I guess. And if your first LED fails, yeah. I don't think backup data would have worked then anyway, because that would still be running through the first LED. So, yeah, best to ground it. Mataton? I really butcher names. Sorry about that. Hey everyone, just got my Quad V3 today. It's up and running. Just did it quick, but I still have plenty to play with for effects. Yeah, awesome. You don't want it floating. Yeah, exactly. You want to ground it, so basically always sending a 0, and then the first LED will generate all the LED data. I'm going to open my Coke now. I don't need a screen on the Penta, so go ahead. I have been thinking about it because all other functionality is basically working. Andy has done a lot of testing in that regard. But yeah. Philip says, whatever your question is, Quinder has an article for that. And if I don't, and it's a good question, I'll write one. Because I often get the same questions like 1,000 times. And if I've gotten it a few times and it's a good question, I'll just write an article about it or make a video about it or do both. Yeah, that's kind of how this works. I personally do not care for the display. It's a nice gimmick, but I'd say don't get hung up over it. Okay, offer as an upgrade later. Well, that's the problem. If it's an issue in the board design, I can't offer it as an upgrade later. Then you buy the PCBs and you put all the components on there, because this is a DIY board, and you're kind of stuck with that. Yeah. Oh no, chat suddenly scrolled. Open an EU store for God's sake. If you're willing to pay 10 to 15 euros per board more, I will open an EU store. How's that? If you're not willing to pay 10 to 15 euros per board more, I'd suggest I don't open an EU store, because that's how much it will cost per board extra. And then you still have to pay 10 to 15 euro shipping, just like you do from the international store. But, yeah. Quindo, you can't run in front of chat unless you're living in the future. Yeah, true. Oh, George says, hey, thanks for all the help on Discord. I think that's for Philip or Andy or me or everyone here. There's lots of people helping out nowadays, which is excellent, because I really can't do it on my own anymore. And I need to be a little bit more in the corner. There we go. Just reading the chat. Bogdan says, do you plan in the future to sell pre-made DIN rail mounting units? That will make them more easy to put them in a control box. I have been looking at DIN rail stuff, not so much for LED controllers, but for something else, which I might be postponing until the future. I'm not sure yet. But a DIN rail LED controller, yeah, I'll think about that. Interesting. Leon says, hi, I read a lot about using Cat6a for cable connection between LEDs and board on the X-Lite COM. 3 solid colors for plus and 3 for minus, and then 1 twisted pair for data. Sure, you'll have to adjust the data resistor for that for sure, because that's not going to work. And then, yeah, I don't really see the use of it. I mean, I get it, but there's often 26 gauge in there, and if you add up 3 26 gauges, you might get 22 gauge or maybe 20 gauge. It's still not a lot. You're better off buying those 8.3 cables with 18 gauge in them, and they'll have more and better copper, or not better, but more copper in there than a Ethernet cable, which really isn't meant for that kind of use. I mean, there's a reason why PoE is 48 to 52 volts. That's because you can't run a lot of amps through there. And sure, you can bundle up pairs, but unless you have a lot of it lying around and you really don't know what else to do with it, I guess you could use it to power some stuff. But other than that, it's just not good power cable. I mean, yeah. Is the camera keeping me in focus? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you like the image of the new camera? I guess it looks kind of the same as the old camera, but Philip explains it correctly. First, I'd have to ship stuff to me. I'd have to pay taxes. Then I'd have to pay import fees. Then I'd have to physically do stuff with it. repackage it, thus costing time to go to the post office and stuff like that, and then I'd have to ship it again. And exactly as I said, by that time it would have been, well, cheaper and often quicker to buy it from the international store. That's exactly the point. Andreas Lakos says, I asked a question on Discord yesterday about improving data signals over long 80 feet runs. You mentioned to replace the resistor and set to join the live stream. Can you elaborate on long data runs? So 80 feet is a... okay. The type of LED signal, or the type of signal that the data signal is for addressable LEDs, is called a single-ended signal. Those are not meant to run long distances. Now, with a bit of tweaking and level shifters and resistors and all kinds of stuff, you can make it run pretty decently for longer distances. And I've tested it up to 32 feet without too much issues and stuff like that. And it really depends if you're using a single data wire, or if you're using combined cable, then you need a different resistor. And we can try and replacing one of those resistors in a bit. But this type of signal has its limits. If you really want to go 80 feet and there's no other solution for that, I'd look into changing the signal from a single-ended signal to a differential signal. And we might have more content on that in the future. But then it's basically become the same as an Ethernet signal, and suddenly it can travel 300 feet without a problem. But you need a little box on one end to change it from single end to differential, then run it all that length, and then change it back from differential to single-ended again. Now this is all possible, and there's already boxes and solutions and stuff like that for on the market. I might have my own at some point, but I'd say anything above 32 feet, you kind of want to look into solutions like that, because guaranteeing data integrity for those kind of lengths with a single-ended signal is just very hard. Now, as I said, there's some stuff going on in regards to resistors. Guess what? There's an article about that. But I have an article about the maximum length of data wire. I suggest you read that. And then I have an article that goes more in depth about data signal conditioning in regards to the resistors that are on these single-ended data connections on my controller boards, for instance, and stuff like that, to try and make it the best situation you can for your setup. But 80 feet, I'd look into differential, because chances that that's going to work well, I don't know. It's not meant for that. That's basically the issue. I hope that answers somewhat of your question. Do you have a list of essential tools and miscellaneous? Transistors, connectors, wires, chips you should still have while working on LEDs, ESPs, and etc. I hate to do this to you guys, but I go back to the website and I scroll down on the main page, and there is tools and equipment. And there I have all kinds of stuff listed that I use myself often, or generally, because, I mean, these screwdrivers, yup. These snips, where are they? Well, you've seen me use them before. Oh, yeah, there we go. These snips, yep. Tweezers, I've actually upgraded to these. So I use these titanium tweezers. I like those a lot. They're so awesome. And components stick to them a lot less. They're very fine. I've been using this one for half a year, building dozens of boards, and the tips are still excellent. They're a bit more expensive, but well worth the money in my opinion. Anyway, wire strippers. You've seen me use wire strippers hundreds of times. Wire ferrules. Get some wire ferrules. Get a crimping tool for that. Ring connectors, fork connectors, stuff like that, especially on the new board with these big terminals. Using fork style connections really makes a big difference. Makes it very easy to use. Yeah, don't use these above 3 to 5 amps, but it's listed there. They can be handy in a pinch. Connector blocks, Wago blocks, have some of those. DuPont wires if you're doing projects and stuff like that for sensors or other stuff. Some extra lead cables, just easy to have lying around. All kinds of cable stuff. So yes, I have an article about that too. Standoffs. Oh yeah, if you want a cheap soldering station that's decent, this one does pretty good. If you want something better, TS100 can't go wrong there. And if you want excellence, that's the one I use myself nowadays. Get one of these T3As. They're awesome. Oh yeah, this is my hot air station, literally the one I have. Yeah, heat plate, well, you've seen me use this before. Excellent if you're doing anything SMD. Some solder wire, solder paste, flux, get some flux. Desoldering pump if you do a lot of work, otherwise don't get a desoldering pump. But multimeter, you have to have a multimeter if you're doing whatever kind of project, trust me. This is very specific if you're doing anything with MOSFETs. This is the energy metering plug I use in a lot of places because they're very good and very accurate and can handle very high currents. If you're doing projects and building boards and stuff like that, getting some sample books in different sizes, so 0805, 0603 and stuff like that, is a very good idea. Oh, I guess my article ends there. So yes, I have lots of tips and tricks of stuff and tools to get to do these kind of projects, for sure. I'm running further behind. Can you use the new Quin ESP32 and Ethernet hat on the original Dig-Uno board? Check the compatibility article. Let me link it again. Because I write these articles because sometimes I even can't remember everything. But yeah. Let's see. I currently have a bunch of analog 12-volt outdoor waterproof strips with various Meanwell 12-volt transformers, 80 and 120, 22 watt to run them. I want to switch to 12-volt RGB W addressable. Which to use for outdoor? Stay with 12-volt or move to 5-volt? Hard to find. Well, I hate to do this. Maybe I don't. Maybe I do. There is, in the digital LED section, there is an addressable LED strip buying guide. And in there, I have links to 12-volt SK6812. Yep, for instance, this one. And if you really hate power injection, I even have links to 24-volt SK6812 per 6 addressable. But still, maybe for a large garden, that might be perfectly acceptable. So check there for some links. And yes, I would certainly go with 12-volt SK6812 or maybe TM1814 nowadays. That's also compatible. But yeah, sure. If you go 5-volt, take a look at that buck converter article I did. Because if it's a garden, it's likely going to be big and long. And then you might want to set up, let me get the picture. You might want to set up like this, where you basically run 24-volt power distribution and then have a 24 to 5-volt buck converter locally at all injection points. So you can run 5-volt LED strip, but have a lot less thick cables basically to do the power injection over those long legs. Okay, let me post this one too, even though this article might not be fully finished yet, but still. Oh god, where was I? Lotion is an option? I think I missed that part. Do you know when the Dig-Quads will restock on global? Yes, this is actually one of the things I wanted to highlight today. We've run out. And we prepared a decent amount, and those have all sold now. So Dig-Quad is out of stock worldwide, and I think Dr. Z is low already. And Dig-Uno is low on stock on worldwide, and probably low on stock on Dr. Z's site for US already also. We're reproducing both, but those will not be done before the end of December. So I hope to have new stock in worldwide and soon thereafter at Dr. Z's. somewhere around the end of December, basically. I have the feeling that my camera used to be either I'm slouching or I don't know. I might need to rethink the mounting here. Let's see. Yeah, Ayante, you can say local NL shop, pickup only, easy, no shipping, no repackaging. That would still require repackaging. And indeed, it would save on shipping costs, but then cost even more of my time, which means I can't do other things in that time. So that's also a factor to take into account. Sure, boredom, no problem. AN Penta without OLED is fine for me as well. Okay, the audience opinion about this is pretty clear. Do you have an article about how much lumen different LED strips are? No, I don't. I have in the past looked into this and thought about maybe making such an article because I do have the instrumentation to measure it and stuff like that. But I basically never got around to it because I'm always busy. So maybe at some point in the future, but currently that is not the case. Did I just pull up my plugs? No. Savok says, hey man, your board is the best from design. Thanks. Thank you. Postponing until the future. Nice one. Yeah. I don't know, man. I have to make choices what I do and when I do it. It's tough sometimes. 48 volts also very common in telephone systems. A lot of it, if you know about... Yeah, exactly. Aw, thanks, Andy. Oh, Johnny's leaving. Oh, having a couple of beer with friends. That's always a good idea. The image is much better, really. We can see every little detail. Really? I didn't think it would make that much of a difference, really. But, yeah. Okay, it's definitely a better camera, that's for sure. But, yeah. "80 feet is 25 meters for those who don't use freedom units." Yes, we're not free. We like using the metric system. Blake, as we speak, hooking up a fairy light up to my front... Oh, wait. Let me restart that. As we speak, hooking up a fairy light up to my first WLED device. Using the D1 Mini, but I'm pretty darn sure I'll be buying your boards after tinkering with this guy. I saw no shipping to Canada. Yes, Dr. Z's used to ship to Canada. Let me rewind that. We used to have a Canadian shop. That didn't end well. And that's a black page in history. Yeah. Then Dr. Z's kind of took over Canada shipping. But it can easily take a month from the USA to Canada for some reason. But worldwide ships to Canada, no problem. Oh, Buddy in the States can middleman. Well, then you might be able to do that too. But if you can order from worldwide, you'll actually get it quicker from China than sent from the US for some reason. So that's why Dr. Z stopped doing that. Oh yeah, Red Angelification also answered that. Awesome. What if we travel 6 to 10 feet from the Dig-Uno before it gets to an LED? Will we need a level logic shifter? Logic level shifter? Whatever. No. Although it kind of depends on the type of cabling you're using. If you're using 3-wire cable, so where ground and data is close together, that likely won't survive because of the resistor tuning on the current QuinLED-Dig-Uno and Dig-Quad boards. And then you can use one of these little, let me show you. One of these little data booster modules, and those can do multiple functions. There should be a button here. There we go. Those can do multiple functions, and one of those is that it has a switch from 249 to 33. And that is basically the data signal conditioning or choosing a different resistor. The 249 is great if you're running a separate data wire next to your power wires, which you often do for LED strips, for instance. And that is also what is on the QuinLED boards. Now, if you're running 3-wire cable, so ground and data and positive in the same cable basically, you want to switch this guy to 33 to match basically that type of cable, and then you should be able to run 16, 20, 30 feet easily. So yeah, currently you either need this little board or you need to basically change the resistor on. Oh, this is the board I've already worked on. Let me get another one. There we go. Or you need to change the data resistors on the output of the boards, because those come with 249, and if you run 3-wire cable, using a 33 ohm resistor is a lot better. Now, if people are interested, I kind of listed it in the thumbnail also. I can show you a quick method on how to do this if you only have a soldering iron. And worst case, you can even bridge it. But yeah, we can look at that in a minute if people want. Oh, Andy has the titanium tweezers and loves them, for sure. Have you thought about changing the 249 ohm resistor on the dig board in a future revision? I have been toying with some ideas to improve the situation, because, truth be told, there's more people having issues than I would have figured, but that kind of has to do with the season. Because LED strip people, as I'll call them, often use a single data wire next to their power wires, and Christmas people often use 3-wire cable. So the boards were tuned for LED strips with a separate data wire, but now there's a lot of people using 3-wire cables, and that's creating an issue. And we've been doing a lot of research into this. There's basically no way to tune for both scenarios except, well, with having a little switch like this. Then you can tune for the exact scenario by flipping a switch. Now, I'll look into if I can integrate that into the boards. For right now, I came up with this solution, and I'm basically selling these at cost to anyone who needs them to make sure their setup is working. But I'm hoping I can find a solution in the future where you can have a selectable resistor on the output or something like that. But that's going to take months of work to redesign the board, prototype it, test it, adjust production, test it again, etc., etc. So if that's going to happen, that's not going to be anytime soon. I will do some live soldering if you guys want to see how to replace that resistor easily, or bridge the connection if you want. But those are the best solutions for right now. But yeah, Avenge, you're absolutely right. That is an issue that's coming up nowadays. Oh god, the chat jumped like thousands of lines. There we go. Your website is easy to navigate. People just need to open their eyes and stop being retarded. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that, but I get that it's difficult to navigate or find the right article, even if you're looking in the right section, because often things are named differently, or you just have to, yeah, I don't know. The only problem with the tool section is that it just keeps costing me money, says Michael. I get that. Oh, you thought let's solder a Dig-Uno during this stream. Show how crucial the 10 UF capacitor is on the Dig-Uno V2 R6. I think I forgot to buy that one. You can try running without it. I added that capacitor for stability reasons. In some scenarios, likely you'll be fine in yours. Yeah. But there's lots of examples and soldering videos and stuff like that already. Oh, Jojo Skerrit asks, hey, I bought those Christmas lights you were using with the metal wires. The wires are sticking together. Can I use them as they are delivered, or do I need to pull them apart, each 10 centimeter of metal wire or cable? If you check my videos, I kind of untangled them so that they aren't twisted. I think that's the most important part. Other than that, they should be fine. Yako says, I keep screwing up the screw terminals, or I'm using the wrong screwdriver, or I got crappy terminals. Can you show close up the tip of the screwdriver you use for the green, black, and red terminals? Actually, I can do you one better. Because this one, from my woe stick, oh, it's the other way around. My woe stick, I use the, which bit is this? Let's see here. Can I show that on screen? Yeah, you can't see it on screen. This is the PH1. And, well, these terminals are exactly the same. The PH1 fits... let me do it at an angle. Basically fits perfectly. So, yeah. Anyway, and other than that, I use the screwdriver kit I have listed. Then I use this guy, and that also fits perfectly. So, I don't know if there's a... I guess it says 3mm, I'm not sure. I've used it too much. I hope that helps. Got my Quad V3 today, works great. Got a bit scared when I took off the ESP32 to access the data out because the spacer came off. Yeah, that spacer, I have a partner in China producing these boards and stuff, and that was his suggestion, and he likes to do that because he didn't like seeing the pins. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, it's just cosmetic, it's not broken, it's okay. Instead of asking anything about LEDs, this should be about how to look up articles on your website, right? That's for sure. Do you recommend some tutorial or tip to compile the DMX output in the ESP32? To be honest, I haven't done anything with DMX. I've done E131 and stuff like that, but my boards don't have DMX ports, for instance, because you need a little bit extra hardware for that. So I can't help you there. I've read the Ethernet compatibility article with the V2 Dig-Uno, but I don't understand what doesn't work with the Uno. Up top it says 12 volt doesn't work, but under the Uno it says it does. Confused. Did I make a mistake in my article? Where is it? The Ethernet compatibility. Right, so for the Dig-Quad V1, cannot use 12 volt because the regulators overheat. But on the QuinLED-Dig-Uno V2 it says no such thing. And on the QuinLED-Dig-Uno V2 with Ethernet you can still do 5 volt and 12 volt because it uses a buck converter instead of the regulators. So I think you might have misread that. Are the buck converters 24 volt to 5 volt and 12 volt to 5 volt waterproof? Yes, the versions I have are, but you will still have to waterproof your cabling. Oh wow, it really sucks for me. The plastic 10 amp converters shipping cost to Canada is more than the actual converters. Really? Let me check that. 24 volt buck stuff. Plastic. So $239. Oh, yeah, whatever. That's fine. So this is a 5, or this is an 8 amp, and this is a 10 amp, and this is a 5 amp. Okay. Well, actually, let me check the second link because I believe that has plastic converters too. Yep. So this is a 5 amp. Oh, it only has up to 5 amp, but this is free shipping. Or why does Aliexpress always try and force Dutch on me. I don't want Dutch. Anyway, but this is free shipping, I believe, no matter how many you add. So maybe check the second link if that works better for you. That crazy mongoose says, I leaped off my couch and got to the Dr. Z's website, I think, the second I got the email saying they were back in stock. They shipped yesterday. Yeah, Dr. Z went nuts with boxes and all kinds of stuff. That was awesome. Oh, wait. I'm hitting the wrong buttons. Let's see here. When the Apenda project will be available? You mean the AN Penta, this guy? I hope soon. If we're skipping the OLED, that might actually make it sooner than later. Hi Quinder, how do I combine a QuinLED analog with an ESP home switch? Is there an article on your website? Yeah, there's lots of articles about my analog boards and ESP home code on my website. I'm not sure a switch is in there, but you can look up the ESP home example. That should be pretty easy, I think. Yeah. You shrunk. Yeah, it's the new camera setup. I don't know. There's too much headroom, isn't there? I just need to... I need to sit up straight. They're like, hey. Any updates with the new hat for the SD card? I'm doing testing. There might be one more revision. Most of the stuff is working pretty good. And there's also WLED code that needs to be updated and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, AVDude923 asks, is this your full-time job or do you also have a day job? Well, that's an interesting question. That's been changing this year, really. I used to have a day job like anyone, but I have been transitioning to doing this more and more, and I might make an announcement about that somewhere soon in the future. I'm not sure yet. But I have been transitioning from my day job to doing more of this kind of stuff, basically. Which, well, you guys basically allow for. So, hey, thank you very much. Kenny D says, the data input, I noticed that as soon as I stick the tip in there, it seems to be blockage. Okay, interesting. I mean, here's a Dig-Uno that has... Oh, wait. So we recently did change the terminals on all the boards. Do I have an old board here? Yeah, so the old style terminal used to be like this, and the new style terminal is like this. Let's see if I can... Right. So this is the old style, and you can see it had the metal ring on the lower part, which made it really difficult to insert bigger gauge wires. And the new one doesn't have that, and this lip basically folds away once you push a cable in there. I'm not sure if the terminal's open. No, it's not open. Okay, so let me open that terminal real quick. So if you can much easily insert 18 gauge and 16 gauge now. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by get stuck. They get delivered while screwed down, but you just, you just unscrew them, and then this is 18 gauge. That should fit, well, relatively easily. Maybe not. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, but we did recently switch to new terminals to try and make it better for larger gauge wires, basically. Because with that lip here, that sometimes made it more difficult. But, yeah. So I'm not sure what you mean with getting stuck. Oh, best guide for setting up platform I/O and WLED and extending and modifying. Does one exist? That's an interesting question. I did a guide on how to compile it once. I think it was a live stream. But that's just how to basically compile vanilla WLED, setting it up in Visual Studio Code. Modifying and stuff like that, I don't have any guides on or things like that. There are some videos out there, I believe, on how to compile user mods and stuff like that, but not sure that's what you're talking about. I don't know about that, Yo-Yo Skerrit. If everything is stuck together, that's a bit odd. Check my videos about the Christmas tree. There you can see how mine look in detail, and maybe that's very different. I don't know. Okay. Rusty says, I successfully used a null pixel to fix my flickering with a 3-wire 10-meter cable. Cool. Okay. Sure. That can work. That basically is kind of the same as my my little data booster board there, changing the resistor value basically. If I ever reach the end of the chat, we'll do some live soldering, changing that resistor. Oh, Teacher Gone Tech says, yes, quality of the image is definitely better in this stream. Wow, okay. I didn't expect that. Okay. Maybe it's because I have the face focus now, so it's always in focus, I guess. I don't know. Live soldering, go, 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 smoke it up. Let me reach the end of the chat first. Jump for the win, yeah. I know how much it trips you up. But can you give us a sneak peek of what you're working on? You just told something about a DIN mount. No, I'm not working... Well, I might have plans for something DIN rail, but I think I'm moving those plans a little bit back. One of the things I think will come out quickest is this thing I just showed everyone. So this is a little board which does a lot of things. Has a touch sensor, has an infrared sensor, has a micro SD card slot, has a digital microphone, and has 3 additional output channels, and that can be used on any of the Dig-Uno and current Dig-Uno and Dig-Quad boards as an upgrade board basically. It does replace the ESP32, and it's external antenna only, because otherwise it would block it, because there's a lot of copper in this top part. So no Ethernet, so it's basically a replacement for the Ethernet hat with different functionality. That's one of the earliest things I think I will release, but yeah. There is other stuff going on. I've shared prototypes I've been working on before, but I don't have that handy right now, so we're not going to talk about it. Yeah, spring clamps, I've looked into those, and we actually went through 15 different screw terminals. Finding screw terminals which are color-coded and basically fit in the same footprint is impossible if you want spring clamp. Yeah, screw terminals are hard because you also want to have them certified for a certain amount of amps and a certain resistance, and you need to be able to get them in certain order quantities, and once it becomes more massive, things become more difficult. If I'd switch to all green terminals, it'd be very easy to replace, but I kind of want to keep the colors, and I've already moved away from that a little bit on the V3 with these input terminals, making that a lot easier. But I kind of want to keep the colors, well, this is a prototype board, to make it easier where to connect the wires, because otherwise I think that would go a lot worse, basically. But we have already tried to improve the terminals versus to what we used before. Did I read? Oh, I thought I reached the end of the chat, but I didn't. My ESP32 board is stuck when programmed. It gives the error failed. Try to connecting. Okay. Or hold the boot button. Yeah, that is what I try. Basically, put the ESP30. I'll show you. I use a little trick. Let me get an ESP32. This is one. What I do is I get the ESP32 and I basically put it on the table. I hold down the boot button. Then I plug in the cable. Then with this hand, I move the mouse, I click on flash, and once it says erasing, then I release the button with my other hand. That's the easiest way I've been able to find to do it. There is an auto reset circuit on there, but sometimes it doesn't want to work or whatever, or the bootloader isn't working or whatever else screwed up. Then I use that method basically. You need two hands, but then, you know, plugging it in while holding the button and then moving the mouse with the other hand generally works best in my opinion. Ah, okay. Only the big metal ones have free shipping. Yeah, it'll differ per country. The Dig-Quad is easily working with 2500 LEDs. The whole front of the house. I have strips permanently set up. Oh, nice. Well, the maximum amount of LEDs really depends also on what you're doing. So if you're running easier setup patterns or you're not running them very fast or stuff like that, so it uses less computational power, that likely works fine. I mean, yeah. Everybody stop chatting, otherwise we never get live soldering. Well, this was the question stream, so... Ernesto says, just wanted to thank you, Quinder, Dr. Aziz, and Air Cookie, and the community. Recently set up a Dig-Quad with permanent holiday lights and plan to expand it a little bit over the years. Thank you. Thank you, Ernesto. If he doesn't reach the end of the chat, the stream will never end. What time is it? Oh, it's already 10:30. Oh no. Okay. Still would like to know which effect is running on the quad there before soldering. Sure. It's currently set to colors 1 and 2. And then I have only set one color to orange. And it's doing flow with the sliders exactly in the middle. Oh no, I reached the end. Nice. Had to go away for a while. Looks like I made it back in time. Unless the shopping delivery turns up, then I might miss the action. Okay. Yeah, it always seems easy in YouTube videos because, you know, then they can do 15 takes and use the best one. Question. When will you start making go things up in flames and smoke? Well, let's do it right now. I am going to use the board that I already haggled a little bit because of when I was doing some testing. But let me... Is this the maximum zoom? Yes, this is the maximum zoom, but I think that's okay. So we're going to work on these resistors. As you can see, this board has crud and everything all over it. That's because I have been working on this one to test some stuff. But let me get my my patented soldering surface. There we go. And let's focus that. Okay. So I don't know what resistors are on here right now, but let me get my... oh, this isn't my 0402 book. I think I have an 0603 book. This is also 0402. Uh-oh. I think this is 0603. Yeah, this is my 0603 book. So, for people who like doing these kind of projects, if you need a random resistor value, I basically have a lot of these books in 0402, 0603, and 0805. And if it's a value or a resistor I don't use too often, it's very easy to find it in here. Because currently I need 33 ohm. Okay, fine. There is a little strip of 33 in here. There is only 20, but hey, if you're in a pinch, that's fine. And often with resistors you can use close values, so it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, getting some of these books. I mean, this is my 0402 book, and then I also have an oh, this is also 0402. I also have an 0805 and capacitors and resistors and stuff like that. So okay, let me get my my soldering gear. Oh god, it's all wired together. Do you guys have that too, where you have like a very ornate desk one day, and then 2 days later it's a giant mess because you actually used it? I don't get these YouTube videos where their desks are always pristinely clean. They must have a different desk where they actually do work, because I don't know how that works. I can't. My desk is a giant mess often because I just need to do stuff. I mean, so yeah, I use the T3A soldering station, and I recently got this stand. I like this stand a lot. Worked great. The only thing I don't like is, for some reason, this rubbery part that sits on top of the metal shavings to clean off the tip, it doesn't really stick anywhere. I don't know about that, but yeah. I literally used this stream to clean up my desk. Well, that's what I should have done. Damn it. Okay. Let's see what kind of tip we have on here. See, one of the reasons I like this soldering station, it's not turned on right now, but even if it was, I can basically hook in the tip, take it out, get a different tip, hook it in a little bit. Now this is a chunky tip, that's what I want right now. And I can push it in like that. I can change tips while soldering. It's excellent. Anyway, let me turn on, I need to turn on some stuff. Come on. Okay. You just found out it's black? Your desk? Okay. Okay, so what we're going to need to remove these... Sorry about that. There we go. What we're going to need to remove these tiny little resistors is the soldering iron, of course. And I'm using a really big tip. And I'm getting my fume extractor, and I'm turning it on. Sorry about that. Let's see. I hope you guys can still hear me. Let me know in chat. But what we're basically going to do... Let me get my tweezers. Oh, yes. You get to see me with my fancy glasses, because I don't want to get splotches in my eyes, because they're sensitive eyes. So now I have my protective gear, I have my fume extractor. Sound is fine. Could use a little bit more zoom though, even more zoom. Okay, let me software zoom it. How's that? That's like so much bigger than in real life. I mean, they're really tiny. Yeah, so I hope that's visible. So what we're going to do is basically, first we need to get these resistors off. Yeah, no, this board has been mangled. Don't look at this board. This board has been through multiple tests. And hence even more! No. So, if you just have a soldering iron and some solder, what you can do is you can basically ball up a bunch of solder and just hold it against the resistor. And there you go. It's gone. So let's do that again. So we just have some solder and our soldering tip, and we just put it against there, and we just feed a lot of solder there, create a big mess of it. Sorry, the board flips over. Hold on. Let me put something. There we go. Just feed it a lot of solder, and it's gone. Let's do that again. Feeding it a lot of solder. And it's gone. And let me try and get it off the tip. See, that's the problem. This thing comes out. Anyway. Okay, let's do it one more time. I have to clean the tip a little bit. There we go, clean tip. I just give it a bunch of solder so that it, in the end, it reaches both sides. And it's gone. No, it's not gone yet. It's almost gone. There we go. Now it's gone. Okay, so that's a little trick, I guess. If you want to remove those resistors with a soldering iron, just heat up both sides and add a blob of solder. You drag over it, basically, and at some point it'll just let go and you can remove those resistors. I am currently using 350 degrees. No, flux wouldn't... Well, having flux is always good, but just flux won't do it, because you need a little solder ball you can basically drag around over there so that you hit both of the sides kind of at the same time, and then it'll let go. Now we can try and make a bridge here, although this tip isn't really suited for that. We can try anyway. But creating a bridge is often harder than you'd think, because as you can see, I can try and bridge this as much as I want, but it doesn't want to bridge. Let me, by the way, resolder these pins because they look really ugly. See, now I created a bridge, but not one I want. I'm just going to reflow these pins to make them look a little bit better. There we go. Okay. Wait. Oh, my monitor is telling me it's going to turn off. Don't do that. There we go. Okay, so now we don't have any resistors. Now, how do we add resistors if we only have this giant ass soldering tip here? Okay. Let's first get the resistors. So I'm just gonna take them out of this little strip. I guess I'll put them over here. There we go. 4 little... Oh, you can't see that. 4 little resistors over there. Those are 0603, but we're really zoomed in. So let me make sure the board doesn't topple over again. Okay, so the trick is we take our tweezers and we take one of those resistors and we basically you melt one side of it and then you push the resistor against there, and then you do the other side while adding a little bit of solder so that you at least know there's a connection. And what I often do is I go back to that first side and I basically tip it again so that I know there's solder touching the pad and also the resistor. Now this tip is way too big for this, but hey, let's do it anyway. Using a smaller tip would actually be easier, but yeah. Okay, I have to turn the resistors around. So let's try and do that again. And normally I turn the board, but I can't right now. There we go, that's tacked on there. And let me do another one. Yeah, so that didn't work out well. Let's try and fix that. Okay, that's okay. And if you don't have a different type resistor, these are the 33 ohm resistors I'd recommend for running 3-wire cable. Yeah, let's do the other one with a smaller tip, so I can exchange those like I just showed you. There we go. Now we have this tip, which is a lot better for this work. But if you don't have a resistor, you could actually use a little... Wait, why is my camera black? Oh no! The face camera ran out of power, I think. Oh, I know why. I never turned the socket on of the power feeding the camera. Let's see if it turns back on. Oh no! Well, this is new camera life, I guess. Let me turn it off. Nope. Well, you'll just have to watch me finish doing this soldering. Let me turn that camera off a little bit and then see if it recharges or something. Yeah, okay. Oh, I guess I can remove this black piece here. There we go. Yeah, so I don't have a dummy battery yet for the new camera, but I thought I hooked it up to USB-C, and in theory that should work. Oh, okay, well that resistor is gone. Yeah, let's get a new one. We're not going to find that one again. So, let me try it again while I wrangle myself in position. Okay, it's too high on my tweezers. I think that worked. Yeah, there we go. So now I just have to do the other sides. And it doesn't have to look pretty, it just has to work. And to work, it just has to have a connection on both sides, so I'm going to tack the other side too. Okay. Now, as I said, this doesn't look pretty, but this will work. And well, we can do another trick or test, I guess. Let's remove this resistor again from LED 1. Yeah, see, if I do it like that, I need more solder. There we go, that's gone. Because if those resistors and stuff like that are way too tiny for you, you could actually make a bridge from this pin straight to the terminal here. Now this pitch of soldering iron is a little bit too thin for these connections, but I guess, do we want to try that? We can try that. Yes, well, if you don't want to solder, which I can understand, you can get the data booster to basically do the same thing. But yeah, the situation just sucks that you can't optimize for two types of cable, basically. It's either one or the other. And, well, currently we have a lot of 3-wire people having issues. That's, you know, that's the downside of things. I hope I can turn the camera on in a little bit again. We'll have to see. I did it wrong. Okay. So let me measure. So I basically stripped a piece of wire, and let me measure how much we kind of need. Something like that. And then I snip it off. And then I take that piece of wire and my soldering iron, let's first connect it to the big port. And this blob is in the way here. See, this is actually more difficult than just replacing the resistor. Now I'm just messing around. Okay, I don't really advise people do this. Yeah, so this might not be a great option to do. Oh, good night, Andy. What is Quinder up to? Yeah, Quinder doesn't know himself. Because now I kind of want to bend this wire. Why did I do this? Okay, I need to turn the board and stuff, because otherwise I can't reach it. There we go. So now I just have to create a little bridge over here. Well, it doesn't look pretty. I don't think I'd advise this method. It'll work. It's probably easier to cut the wire really short and just bridge the two resistor pads. But this will work. It's just not pretty at all. Oh man. Anyway, I showed you how easy it is if you have a set of tweezers and a soldering iron. It's pretty easy to replace those resistors themselves. So bridging them with a wire, then I just bridge the resistor pads. That's it. That should be a lot easier. Oh yes, the boards certainly don't look like they come from the factory if I do them. Let's see if we can turn on the camera already. Yes, yes. Camera's back, but I don't know for how long, so we're probably going to round this off now. Okay, let me move some stuff around here. Right, let's go back to the face cam. Huh. Okay. So, that was very quickly how you can change the resistor if you need to or want to because of three-wire cable. I get this situation is kind of disappointing maybe if you buy a pre-assembled board. That's why I created the data booster boards and selling those at cost basically, even sometimes slightly below that, because I want everyone's setup to work. And I am looking into maybe solutions on board for in the future, but just changing the resistor to another value isn't the right option in my opinion, because then it basically makes other setups work worse. So it's kind of a choice thing. So will the DIY boards, will the boards at some point be certified? Actually, yes and no. The way I'm selling them, they will likely not be certified, but there's been a lot of testing and stuff going on behind the scenes, and the current boards can be certified if integrated into a third-party project, basically. So the boards, especially the V3, is fully up to code for UL, CSA, and even CE. But then you need to have a case designed around it and a lot of other stuff that accompanies it, which makes it a lot more expensive than the way we currently sell it, basically. So I'm not sure that I will ever release a certified version of the boards. Just know that especially the Dig-Quad has run through all the certifications, because there are going to be some products which have the board inside of them, and they pass with flying colors. So that's kind of, yeah, it's kind of a difficult situation. Would you want the same board but certified and 3 times as expensive? Yeah. You can, I was messing around with making a little wire bridge there. You can definitely just bridge just a resistor. That's fine. That's fine if you use a little tiny piece of wire there, or a 0 ohm resistor if you only have those. Preferably I'd use a 33 ohm resistor, so there's still some resistance in there for anti-ringing and stuff like that, because it's a single-ended signal. But other than that, yeah. Well, I'm not sure your insurance wouldn't pay if your house burned down right now, because the boards aren't certified, but because they're in the DIY sphere, I don't believe they have to be for most parts of the world. Kind of depends. Yeah. And if you have fusing on the boards, and especially have a certified power supply, that power supply in that sense is more important than the board itself. So if the power supply is certified, that is enough in most situations. But I get it, and I will look into doing certified board or more something certified in the future. But that probably won't be these boards, although they pass certifications, because I know that, because, well, we've done all the testing with the certification companies. So, yeah. I am not going to go into which brands the boards are going to be integrated into. Yeah, I've thought about putting the CE logo on there. Maybe we will be forced to at some point. We've actually recently run some CE tests on them, and there were no issues in there, but not sure where I want to go there yet, or what I want to do in that regard yet. Just know that the boards are safe and are tested thoroughly, and even against those regulations by official instances. Yeah. If I were to add a QuinLED data booster to a regular ESP32 dev board, that would be the same thing as wiring a level shifter or a sacrificial pixel, right? No. The level shifter on and I don't know where I have it right now. It's over here. The level shifter on the data booster board is a different kind of level shifter than is on the QuinLED boards. And for that level shifter, officially you need to have at least 3.6 volts to have an incoming high signal. The level shifters on the boards are different, and those need at least a 2.1 volt signal, I believe. But there's reasons to use a different one on the data booster board than on the QuinLED board. Because the data booster kind of assumes it's getting a 5 volt signal in, or 4.5 or something like that. And the on the dig boards, it assumes a much lower voltage because it's coming from 3.3 volt. So that is the theory, that is the official, and that is what the data sheet says. I have tested it, and in my opinion, I think it'll work in some cases, in others it won't. But it's kind of the same as hooking up a LED directly on the 3.3 volt output. Often it'll work, sometimes it won't. So it's not the same level shifter, and that has its reasons basically, but yeah. So no, that will not be the same. Aryan says, I just have to keep practicing with soldering. I'm still at it it's frustrating, nothing seems to work for me stage. Maybe it's the thickness of my solder wire and the type of solder iron I'm using. Yeah, certainly check out the other irons I've listed. The TS100, for instance, is a great one. And it's getting some decent solder wire can also help. I still use leaded solder because it's just easier to use and it's fine for my use, basically. All the pre-assembled boards are fully ROHAS and no leaded stuff is used, etc. But what I do here at home, I just use the easiest stuff. So what time is it already? Oh, it's already 11 o'clock. Let's give it a few more minutes and then we'll be ending this stream. I do appreciate everyone sticking around and spamming all the questions because I didn't really have a good topic for today, but recently the Discord's been really busy with a lot of questions and stuff like that. Partly also about, the resistors and things like that. So I thought, hey, let's have a little stream and sit down and talk through all these questions and maybe link to a lot of articles there already are which discuss these questions, or a lot of them. And if not, if there's good questions, I like making articles from them, because then, the knowledge is out there to be found. So I thank everyone for questions, and let's have a few more. Let's have a few more. That's fine. Although I don't know how long the camera will last. If it's black at the end of the if it turns off at the end of the screen, Do you still write code, or are you fully focused on hardware now? I have written a little bit of code, but I'm mainly focused on making the hardware better right now. And well, with an awesome project such as WLED out there, I'd rather donate to them, which I do regularly, to make their project better than me trying to stumble writing code. I'm better at hardware design, so yeah. Oh, my Coke isn't even done yet. Thanks, Aryan. Oh, it was the first live stream. Nice. Thank you for all answering the questions. No problem. I like answering questions. So. And I'm glad to hear that the new camera is actually improving the quality of the stream. I didn't really expect that. So, yeah. I have plans about Home Assistant painting, but I don't know when those will come to fruition. I've been calling those I've been calling those plans plan next year, but I'm not sure when I'll actually be able to work on those, and those might even skip a year. I'm not sure yet. Are you doing a special Christmas project this year? No, actually, no. I'm really busy with work stuff, so no. Oh, Hybrid says, I'd like to have some kind of motorized addressable LED spot. Any recommendations other than going DMX? That would have been my first recommendation. I'd love WLED support something like this. Yeah, unless you code a user mod and then basically build it all yourself, I don't think anything like that exists or will exist anytime soon. So, yeah. Philip, addicted to articles. Yeah. But that's basically how I got started doing all this stuff. When the same question got asked to me a few times, I'd make an article of it. And then later I'd start making articles and or videos. What is your server? Unraid, TrueNAS, Scale. My server is Proxmox, and I run ZFS for all my storage. I have about 600-700 terabytes running over here. Yeah. It's still the server I built in that video series a few years back. Ah, there is a DMX mod, but it's received, not sent. Yeah. Yeah, and then even the motor controls and stuff like that wouldn't be in WLED anyway, so. See if I missed any questions. A new window. There we go. Let's move this window. Okay, I'm back. I think I'm back. I should be back. Yep. Anyway, yeah, for some reason, this PC has been unstable, and I've not been able to figure out why, because it'll work perfectly fine for hours, and while I hammer it and everything going on, and then suddenly it freezes, and I have no clue why. I don't have a link for addressable spotlights right now. But yeah, there is actually no teasers. I guess the teaser for this week was again the little board I showed, which I'm working on. I don't have anything else new to tease, really. Yeah. So, I was going to say let's do one more question, and then Jeffrey gave us one. For your house lights, do you turn on off with your phone, physical switch, or with sensors? A rotary encoder button seems like the ideal for me for basic control for anyone, but smart too. Most of my home lighting everything is running through Home Assistant, and most of it is basically automated. I have a few buttons here and there, but I generally don't use them, and I do use the phone app of Home Assistant sometimes if I want to override something, but that's basically it. The rest just happens automatically. So yeah. There is no lead time for analog quads because the analog boards are not available pre-assembled, just the digital boards. I saw this video. Please check this timestamp. What? He's using your QuinLED. Okay, sure. I'm not sure you can post it, though. Maybe throw it up on the Discord, Guido. Yes, Automagic is the best kind. Anyway, I think my computer was trying to tell me that it's time to stop. So, I don't like LED 1 to 4. Okay. I'll throw the video on the Discord server, Guido, and I'll take a look at it later. Anyway, let's round off this thing because we've been streaming for a while now. Thank you all very much for watching and even sticking around while the stream crashed or my computer crashed. Oh yeah, resistor. Yeah, I might have a better solution for that in the future. I hope I can find one. Currently, this is it. And if you are using 3-wire cable, maybe get some of those data boosters if you don't want to solder. Yeah, that's the best solution for now. And I hope I'll have a better one in the future. So yeah. Anyway, thank you all for watching. And I hope to see you back on the Discord server in the video comments under maybe a new video or a live stream. And otherwise, I wish you all a very nice holiday season. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.